all watching that. And
Yeah.
JD Vance was supposed to be with you. He went out to be with Charlie Kirk's family and to get the body back to his hometown in Arizona. And you said you were going to award him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is very nice of you. Any updates on this suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else. But I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah, I think we're in great shape.
Mr. President.
And he's in custody.
So as being one of the first people to announce the shooting from the other day, also Donald Trump sat in on the Fox and Friends couch to announce that they had arrested a suspect. So did the Utah governor, and he did with a little bit more flair, I guess, is what he wanted.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger.
So people, of course, quickly jumped and said, who is Tyler Robinson? What does he look like? Because we've seen the kind of rhetoric that's been happening the past couple of days. There's Tyler Robinson and his mugshot. The suspect in this here killing. I mean, it's kind of what you would expect. But as they pointed out, there was a lot of hate in his heart. He had these issues with Charlie Kirk. Things were looking like it all lines up with who this guy is and maybe even potentially his motivations and his anger behind it. I just want to ask Nancy Mace, has she come forward yet to apologize?
This shit ends. Like, enough is enough. And now I have to deal with real safety concerns. It sounds like the shooter was a trans or pro-trans. And just because I want to protect women, that I'm worried about getting murdered? Are you kidding me? It's out of control, and enough is enough. And I'm going to double down on this. I'm going to be more vigilant than ever. I'm going to be louder than I've ever been until this shit stops. It's got to stop.
Nancy Mace is a clown. She's an absolute clown. So I guess now the new approach to getting more attention, which is Nancy Mace's only objective in her life, is to then cuss every other word. I'm a congresswoman, so I should start cussing at every moment possible because, that'll get more attention. Anyways, Nancy Mace decided to push more of the narratives that would help fuel this whole fire and also push her name in the forefront because people would have to then talk about her more. I wonder if she's going to keep talking now that other information has come forward. Now, by the way, as we're looking for motivations, the governor of Utah still was asked that question, and he didn't have much of an answer, but still it was asked.
Talking with authorities, and did he
discuss a motive?
I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you.
He can't answer it right now. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have any of that information. No, not really, but weird, because right afterwards, as they're talking about some of the evidence that they picked up from maybe these engravings on these bullets, he seemed to lean a little bit more towards feeling like he's hinting at what he believes the motive was.
Governor, how do you interpret the engravings on the casing?
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not, and by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. I think that speaks for itself.
It's weird. It was really fast. He went from having nothing he could say about the motive to then having something to say about the motive, even in that same answer. I mean, I don't really have. I'm gonna let you guys leave it up to your interpretation of what the motive is. But considering it says "catch fascist" on it, I'm gonna say that maybe it speaks for itself, and you guys should actually take that as to what you think it means. Everyone does it. Everyone goes to try and figure out what the motives are, and then once those motives are discovered, or even when they're not discovered, or even when they are discovered, they still go to, well, it's still other people's fault, not the fault of the fact that we flooded this place with guns and that we like to shoot each other all the time with them, or the fact that for the 1.5 to 2 days since that shooting happened, there's been a flood of people talking about how they just want to go to war. He wanted not to talk about any motives right before he talked about motives. So here's something that makes absolutely no sense and has nothing to do with it based off of what it is that we saw. A picture from 2017 that's also circulating. It's potentially, I guess, the Charlie Kirk alleged shooter dressed in a Halloween costume in 2017. Man, that's like 8 years ago. Dressed up in a Donald Trump Halloween costume. Let's start assuming off of that too. It's one of those things where we get this opportunity to start just wildly speculating. Apparently, based off the engravings on that bullet, he felt Charlie Kirk was a hateful fascist. So I think the narratives are going to continue with folks talking about how they want to start civil wars and find the first liberal that they see. And oh my God, you guys really want it, with spit jumping out of their mouth and blood seeping from their eyes. Because, that's what we actually want when it comes to these things.
I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last 2 nights. There was no rioting. There was no looting. There were no cars set on fire. There was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes. Because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country.
Will he maybe, start focusing his attention on the people who are the biggest microphones and the biggest platforms that continue to perpetuate this hate and division? We've seen people dispelling all the lies that are told about how glorious Charlie Kirk was. If he really means what he says, which are, great words, we need to stop all this hate, because violence begets more political violence, right? I just wish he'd tell the guy who keeps pushing this.
Radicals on the right as well. We have radicals on the left. People are watching all of these videos and cheering. Some people are cheering that Charlie was killed. How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem. And they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy. Although they want men and women sports, they want transgender for everyone, they want open borders.
The radicals on the right, they're only radicals because they want to stop the violence. So what are they doing? What makes them radical? Are they killing people? Did they kill Democratic state Congress people up in Minnesota?
Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't really call him. Look, he anointed this guy to a position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?
Did they attack Nancy Pelosi's husband? And did you celebrate it?
We'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
I'm just trying to remember. I'm just trying to figure out, as he says, there's radicals on the right, but it's going to get me in some trouble because it's those lefty radicals that are the problem. But right now, what he needs, because he sucks and everyone knows how much he sucks, is more political violence. Do not forget that. It's reasons why he sent tanks into Washington, D.C. It's reasons why he wants to continue to keep the National Guard in Los Angeles, and he's threatening Chicago and threatening Nashville and threatening every city that he can, so that one day maybe somebody will start fighting back, and then he'll go, look at these radicals, as he does radical thing after radical thing after radical thing. One of the things he said those left-wing nuts do is shoot people in the middle of the street. You mean the way that you said when you were running for office a long time ago?
And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
That guy said left-wing radicals shoot people in the middle of the streets as he celebrated a hypothetical of him doing just that. Why listen to this guy? They need division. They need deaths. This guy was dancing at a baseball game after Charlie Kirk got shot. This guy, when asked, how you doing after Charlie Kirk died? He goes, I'm doing pretty, I'm holding up great. They asked him in this same interview about what he was doing when he found out. And he said, you know what? I was actually about to announce this Rose Garden pave-over moment, and he got to talking about how glorious the Rose Garden is going to be.
How are you holding up over the last 3.5 days? I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And I just see all the trucks. We just started, so it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
Donald Trump doesn't give two shits about Charlie Kirk. Donald Trump cares about what he can do with Charlie Kirk.